Welcome to Burned and Better. I'm your host, Dr. Denisa Weber, a seven-figure CEO, speaker, mother, entrepreneur, and chiropractor. Over the last 15 years, I've faced the highest highs and the lowest lows of entrepreneurship, motherhood, and leadership. I've burned more times than I can count, but every time I've found a way through and come out better. This isn't about polished highlight reels. It's about the real, unfiltered side of leading, the kind of conversations usually kept behind closed doors. Here, I share my own stories and sit down with leaders who've stumbled, recalibrated, and built something worth leading. So if you've ever felt the weight of success or wonder what it looks like to fall hard but rise stronger, you're in the right place. Let's normalize the messy middle of leadership and step into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Burned and Better, and I am excited about this message. I literally shared this with some friends of mine. I've been studying this in the Word for the last couple of weeks. It just keeps coming up, and I'm like, this might be my word for next year. And what's interesting is that it had already been on my mind, and then all of a sudden, then my good friend Carrie Trotter, she's like, I bought you a book. I was like, what did you buy me? I love books, and I have been reading so much this year, and I'll tell you more about which books I've been reading because honestly, it's just been really helpful, is Waking Up to the Goodness of God by Susie Larson. It is so good. I'll put a link in the show notes for it, but it met me exactly where I was in the Word, and I had to share it with you guys because here's the thing. The Word is expectant. I was like, okay, let me walk you through this. In the book, in the intro, she talks about the gift of expectancy, and I was like, ooh, I love that, the gift of expectancy. So, Carrie, I love you for sending this because this is the book that's going to match up to what you've been reading and then also what I need you to pull out and extract. And the word to wait, so like we hear about waiting on the Lord, waiting, 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 waiting. I don't know about you, but I hate waiting. I am so impatient. And I know the fruit of the Spirit is patience. And I want to be able to bear that fruit better. Trust me, hear me on that. It was so refreshing to hear that the word wait, the Hebrew verb, its meaning, the word wait. So in Hebrew, to wait is to expect, is to look for. That's what it means, to expect and to look for. And I was like, that's way different than what I've been doing with waiting. Waiting for me like feels very passive. And I know I've heard like waiting is an active process or whatever, but I'm like, this languaging changes it for me mentally. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's to expect, it's to look for. And even in the Greek verb for it also is it's await eagerly or to expect fully. And I was like, man, that's something. When I was writing down in my journal one day in Psalms, David talks about Psalm 5. In the morning, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly. And so that's why I was like, when I got this book, I was like, excuse me? She's talking about the gift of expectancy. And so much of what I've been reading is kind of like breaking the habit of being yourself with Dispenza, being your future self now, oh, what's his name? I don't wanna say it because I'm gonna get it wrong, but he's written books with Dan Sullivan in the past. Anyway, I digress. David talks about, "Hear my voice in the morning, I will lay my request to you, and I will wait expectantly." And I'm like, "Dang, he knows God's gonna deliver." And I was like, "I don't know if I lay my requests with full-hearted expectancy." I fully expect God to deliver. It spoke to my heart, and then I was like, "Okay, well, then what keeps me from basically having a posture of expectancy? What keeps me from that?" And when I look at different things, like what steals away from having an expectant heart is doubt. I was taken to James 1:6. I literally am gonna read it out because when I was talking about this to my friends, I literally butchered the verse. It was awful. It says, "But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That man should not think he will receive anything from the Lord. He's a double-minded man, unstable in all he does." And I was like, that is so true. My doubt does not make me more firm. You know what I mean? Like, my doubt just makes it seem, like, flimsy. And I was like, "God dang it. You're telling me that doubt blocks my blessing? Is doubt keeping me from getting what I'm asking the Lord for? Can I not fully receive if doubt is there?" And I was like, "Where's that coming from?" And then I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna back it up." Like, going back to Genesis 1, like, when the enemy comes in, what's the first thing he does? He plants a seed of doubt. He's like, "Did God really say that?" And I'm like, "You're sneaky. That is really sneaky." Because if I think about it, at the end of the day, the enemy does not want his children to receive the Father's blessing. Hear that, because he cannot be blessed. If his mission is to keep us from receiving our Father's blessing, his mission is completed. He likes to steal joy. And I'm like, "Man, you are blocking," and it makes me doubt who God is. And if I'm doubting who God is when I place my request at the feet, and then I kinda sit back and I'm like, "Can you? If you? I hope that. Will you please?" Instead of just being like David and going, "I lay it down and I wait expectantly." And I'm like, "Yeah, my posture of expectancy could be way strengthened. I can do that. I can start saying that." And so, not from a place of, like, because it's blocking my blessing, but and also it is blocking my blessing, dang it. And I just am like, "You know what? Stop. Like, I'm gonna stop doing this." And just trying to strengthen my expectant heart and not allow doubt to steal the joy that's already been placed there. And when I think about some of the things that have killed my spirit, because I'm like, sometimes my prayers aren't answered. Sometimes, I mean, we've had some hard stuff going on in our place, and you're like, "God, please follow through for this. Please," like, especially with death recently. And I'm just like, "Why?" And at the end of the day, it still doesn't change who he is. Like, he's still who he is, and he's still gonna deliver on his promises. And it is an eternal game, and it doesn't change who he is. That's all I can go back to because my feelings want to go in circles and spiral and do all the things. The enemy at the end of the day want us to doubt God's character, and God's character is not gonna change, and because God's character doesn't change, I should be expectant that he will deliver on what he asks, and then James affirms it and is like, "Don't ask. If you have a seed of doubt, you will be like the waves of the sea, tossed along by the wind." So I will be expectant. And I'm even in Psalms, like, later on, I think David talks about, he's like, "He will call upon me and I will answer," the Lord says, and then he's constantly trying to place blessing. He is chasing us with his blessings. Psalms 139 even talks about it, like, "You go before me and follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head." I don't wanna be in my own way of receiving the Lord's blessing. I don't know about you. I just felt like I needed to come in here, share this. Was kind of like something that came up. I mean, it was flowing out of my hand in my journal, and then once this book landed in my hand, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good." And she literally walks out 40 days towards healing and wholeness, and it's been so sweet. But it's like having faith declarations because we have to, at the end of the day, train our RAS, our reticular activating system. And if we can tell our RAS that, yes, God follows up on his promises, yes, I'm expectant for it, I'm going to see his blessings throughout my life. I'm going to see it throughout my day. And that builds reps so that I trust God more. I trust his character more. So if I trust his character more, I come to him more frequently. If I come to him more frequently, then I'm leaning on him and I want to know more about him and I spend more time with him. And then he has more purpose. He can use me more. All these different things. But it's like we got to work within our neurology to train it to what we want to see. If I don't like so and so, I will look for a million reasons why to not like so and so. If I'm constantly wanting to affirm, the brain does not like indifference. Like it likes to know, it wants to affirm that it's right. And so if you have a thought, same thing with like the reticular activating system, if you're going to go buy a red Ferrari, then all of a sudden you're seeing red Ferraris everywhere. Not that I see that, but anyway, you get the thought process on this. It's the same way. Like we have to train our nervous systems. We have to train our RAS to go, I'm going to look for the good here. And that's why like going from negative thinking to positive thinking, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to wake up in the morning. What are the first things that I need to start thinking about? And so it was just so interesting in these little 40 days of whatever she has faith declarations in there. And it's like, that's why people go to affirmations and they go to these different things because they're trying to train their neurology to think in a certain way so that then they're able to affirm it throughout the day and strengthen that kind of mental muscle, if you will. So I'm here for strengthening the mental muscle to trust and to be under his provision and guidance and purpose. And so that's where I'm like, let's not allow doubt to block our blessing anymore. Let's not allow the enemy to come in that way anymore. What would life look like if we actually approached the Lord with an expectant in posture? That'd be pretty powerful. And I am definitely experimenting. Hopefully that experiment turns into constant being in that zone. But wanted to share that word with you guys. And again, it's just a little download, but I wanted to hop on here, share that. Love you all, and I hope you have a great week. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to Burn It Better. Follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, tap 5 stars or write us a quick review. That's how this work is going to grow. I'd love to hear what stood out for you in this conversation. Share this episode, tag me at Southern_Cairo on Instagram, and pass it on to someone who needs it today.